10 voices, 10 names still spinning on turntables, still playing at cookouts, still opening wedding first dances. Every single one of them was murdered, not metaphorically, by another human being with a knife, a gun, or a badge. Some died at the hands of strangers. Some died at the hands of family. And in most of these cases, nobody ever answered for it. If you've ever loved a song without knowing what happened to the person who made it, change gonna come. This list is going to change how you hear it. Subscribe now. Because the final name on this list was killed by the person who raised him. The countdown begins now. Number 10, Jannie Pought, MRLEE, the Bobbettes. Picture 5 schoolgirls from a Harlem Glee club, none older than 13, rehearsing a song about a teacher they couldn't stand. That inside joke became Mr. Lee, and by 1957, the Bobbettes had done something no girl group had done before. Hit the pop top 10 and the R&B #1 spot in the same year. Years ahead of the group's history, usually credits with inventing the sound. The industry didn't know what to do with them. 4 singles flopped, so the girls wrote the sequel their label didn't want. I Shot Mr. Lee, finally telling the truth about that teacher. Atlantic shelved it, then rushed out its own version once a rival label picked it up. The label fought its own artists for a hit it had buried. Pought kept singing for 2 more decades, through oldies circuits, well past the industry's interest in her. In September 1980, walking a street in Jersey City, a stranger stabbed her to death. She was 34. No motive was ever found, no connection to her killer ever established. If you've ever lost someone to something senseless, no story, no reason, nothing to hold on to, you know that particular grief. The Bobbettes forced their own label into writing re-recording contract clauses still standard in the industry today, because Atlantic tried to out-release its own artists. They changed the business twice and were paid for neither, and the woman at the center of it died with her killer never named. Number 9, Cornell Gunter, Yakety Yak, the Coasters. You know Cornell Gunter's voice even without his name, that high tenor floating above Yakety Yak, Charlie Brown, Poison Ivy, the sound that turns any cookout speaker into a time machine. He'd sung with the Platters and the Flares before joining the Coasters, and by the late 50s, he was the shimmer sitting atop some of the most joyful records ever made. In 1987, the Coasters became the first vocal group inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Gunter kept performing, building toward a solo comeback at 53, with plenty left to give. On February 26, 1990, he was found shot behind the wheel of his own car in Las Vegas, after witnesses described an argument beforehand. He appears to have tried to drive away before crashing. No one has ever been arrested. This wasn't the group's first tragedy. 9 years earlier, another Coasters bass singer vanished after threatening to expose his own manager's fraud. A story so brutal, we'll return to it before this countdown ends. The Coasters made records about lawnmowers and nagging parents, some of the silliest, most joyful music of the era. Two of the men who sang on those records were murdered years apart, both cases unsolved. Sometimes the happiest music comes from people carrying things you'd never guess. Number 8. Charles Miller, Low Rider, WR. Say, all my friends know the Low Rider, and you already hear his voice. Deep, unhurried, amused. That's Charles Miller, saxophonist and flutist for War. The man most responsible for writing and singing lead on one of the most inescapable songs in American music. A football injury at Long Beach City College pushed him fully into music. Sessions with Ray Charles's band, work with Senor Soul, then the group that became War. Low Rider hit number 1 R&B in 1975 and never really left, soundtracking movies and television for 50 years, sampled by a generation with no idea whose voice they're hearing. On June 4th, 1980, 2 days after his 41st birthday, Charles Miller was stabbed to death in Los Angeles during a robbery, living in Hollywood with his wife and 4 children. No one has ever been arrested or prosecuted. He was killed for whatever was in his pockets, and the man responsible walked into the rest of his life while a song Miller helped write kept playing on every radio in America. Some of you have Low Rider in a playlist right now and never once knew the man who wrote and sang it was murdered in an unsolved robbery. That's 46 years of a song outliving the justice its creator never got. Number 7. Harry Womack, Looking for a Love, the Valentinos. 5 brothers, singing gospel in their father's Cleveland church, calling themselves the Womack Brothers before the world knew them. A young preacher named Sam Cooke signed them to his own label and renamed them the Valentinos, pulling them, against their father's wishes, into secular music. Harry Womack sang tenor and played bass behind his brother Bobby through Looking for a Love in 1962 and It's All Over Now in 1964. The song the Rolling Stones turned into their first UK number 1. By the 70s, the brothers were backing Bobby's solo records, still finding ways to stay in the same songs together. In January 1974, Bobby released a remake of Looking for a Love with Harry singing behind him. Weeks later, on March 9th, while staying at Bobby's house during Bobby's tour, an argument broke out with Harry's girlfriend over women's clothing found in the house. Clothing that turned out to belong to someone in Bobby's life, not Harry's. She stabbed him fatally in the neck. Bobby was mid-interview promoting that very record when he got the call. Within weeks, Looking for a Love hit number 1 R&B. Harry never heard what it became.
She might be over here somewhere.
For more than 40 years, until his own death in 2014, Bobby Womack closed nearly every show with Harry Hippie as tribute. A song written for someone else, turned into the only way he knew to keep saying his brother's name. Number 6. Don Myrick, After the Love Has Gone, Earth, Wind and Fire. That searing saxophone solo on After the Love Has Gone, the one that stops a room that people have grieved to and walked down aisles to, belongs to Don Myrick, leader of the Phoenix Horns, Earth, Wind and Fire's signature horn section. He was one of the band's architects, a Grammy winner for Runnin', a session player whose horn reached records by Phil Collins, Carlos Santana, and Donny Hathaway. When Collins needed a saxophone solo for One More Night, he called Myrick, that's him in the video, standing in a London pub, playing the part an entire generation associates with that song. By the early 90s, addiction had pulled him from the spotlight. On July 30th, 1993, police arrived at his Los Angeles apartment, serving a narcotics warrant. Myrick came to the door, holding a butane lighter, the long kind used for grills. An officer mistook it for a weapon and fired once into his chest. He died at the hospital at 53. His family later won a wrongful death settlement. His bandmate Larry Dunn said he'd been shot down like a common criminal. The man behind one of the tenderest saxophone solos ever recorded, played at weddings and funerals alike, was killed over a barbecue lighter, proof of how small the space between a legend and a fatal misunderstanding can be. Number 5. Roger Troutman, I Want to Be Your Man, Zapp. If you were near a party between 1980 and the late 90s, you know Roger Troutman's sound before his name. That robotic, weeping talkbox voice behind More Bounce to the Ounce and Computer Love. 10 brothers out of Hamilton, Ohio, built what became the Dayton Sound, with Roger out front, his 1987 solo single, I Want to Be Your Man, riding that voice to #1 R&B. In 1996, that voice reached a new generation, floating over California love, with Tupac and Dr. Dre, turning an Ohio funk pioneer into the sound of West Coast hip-hop overnight. His older brother Larry had managed him for roughly 25 years. The band, the business, the real estate. By the late 90s, that relationship had frayed over money. On the morning of April 25, 1999, Roger was shot multiple times in the alley behind the family's Dayton studio. He died at the hospital at 47. Police found Larry blocks away in his car, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. There was no trial, no verdict, just one memorial service for both brothers. The talkbox voice that defined a generation of funk and helped birth West Coast hip-hop ended in a family business dispute. Neither brother survived, and no one outside that family has ever fully explained what happened in that alley. Number 4. King Curtis, Soul Serenade. He's on more records you love than almost any musician who ever lived. The solo on Yakety Yak, Aretha Franklin's musical director. The horn on Lennon's Imagine sessions. King Curtis built himself from a 12-year-old with a Texas saxophone into one of the most in-demand musicians of his generation, standing beside Aretha in 1971, at the peak of soul music, 5 months from an ending nobody saw coming. On the night of August 12, 1971, checking a tripped fuse box at the Manhattan brownstone he owned, he found a stranger loitering on his own front steps. A confrontation over a doorway turned into a fistfight, and a knife appeared. He fought back and stabbed his attacker in return, but the wound to his own chest had already done its damage. He died at Roosevelt Hospital hours later, at 37. His killer, 26-year-old Juan Montanez, pleaded down to second-degree manslaughter and served just under 6 years. More than 2,000 people packed a Manhattan church for the funeral. Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, Duane Allman, Jesse Jackson. His band played Soul Serenade as mourners filed past, and Atlantic Records closed its offices that day. The industry that paid him session-scale wages for decades buried him like a headlining star, proof that respect and compensation have always been two very different things in this business. Number 3. Al Jackson Jr., Green Onions, Booker T and the MGS. They called Al Jackson Jr. the human timekeeper. Founding drummer of Booker T and the MGs, Stax's house band, he's the pocket underneath Green Onions. Otis Redding's Dock of the Bay, Sam and Dave's biggest hits, and he co-wrote Al Green's Let's Stay Together, still playing at black weddings over half a century later. That July of 1975, his estranged wife Barbara shot him in the chest during an altercation. Charges were dropped when a judge ruled self-defense after he'd assaulted her. He didn't press charges, filed for divorce, and started planning a new chapter in Atlanta. On the night of September 30th, 1975, he delayed a trip to watch the Ali Frazier fight, then came home after midnight to find an intruder already inside. Barbara was bound to a chair. The intruder forced Jackson to the floor and shot him 5 times in the back before fleeing with cash and jewelry. The case has never been solved. No arrest has ever been made. Every drummer who has ever locked into a deep, unhurried backbeat stands on Al Jackson Jr.'s shoulders, and 50 years later, whoever put 5 bullets in his back has never answered for a single one. Number 2. Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come.
Change gonna come.
He took gospel and turned it into soul music. That's the historical record, not exaggeration. Sam Cooke owned his own record label and publishing company when almost no black artist controlled anything they created, using that platform to sign a new generation, including the Womack brothers from earlier on this list.
Change gonna come.
On the night of December 11th, 1964, Cooke ended up at the Hacienda Motel in South Central Los Angeles with a young woman who fled the room with most of his clothing. Partially dressed, he went looking for her at the motel office.
And I say, brother.
The manager, Bertha Franklin, said he forced his way in and attacked her, and that she shot him in self-defense. He died on the office floor at 33.
A long time coming.
A coroner's jury ruled it justifiable homicide within days. No charges were filed. His friends never accepted the account. Etta James later said his body looked far worse than any police report described, and his own lawyer was reportedly allowed only a single question at the inquest. 200,000 people mourned him across Los Angeles and Chicago. 11 days after his death, A Change Is Gonna Come was released without him, an anthem of the civil rights movement within months, now preserved in the Library of Congress. He wrote the most hopeful song in American musical history, and never lived to hear it on the radio. 60 years later, his family still doesn't accept the official story. Number 1, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? You already knew this name was coming. Marvin Gaye was Motown's most complete artist. How Sweet It Is, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, the Tammy Terrell duets, then What's Going On in 1971, an album he fought his own label to release, still ranked among the greatest ever made. In 1982, after tax troubles and European exile, he returned with Sexual Healing and won his first Grammys, at 44, having just finished the tour behind it. Underneath it all sat his father, a minister who beat his children with a severity people close to the family have described for decades. Marvin left home at 17 and spent his adult life making tender music while carrying that weight. In late 1983, Marvin gave his father a .38 revolver, a gift, son to father. On April 1, 1984, the two argued over a misplaced insurance letter. It turned physical. His father retrieved that same revolver and shot him twice. One bullet went through his heart. Marvin Gaye died that afternoon, one day before his 45th birthday. His father was charged with first-degree murder, but evidence of the fight, drugs in Marvin's system, a brain tumor, and his mother's refusal to testify led to a plea of voluntary manslaughter, a 6-year suspended sentence and probation. He never spent a day in prison and died of natural causes in 1998. The man who sang some of the most vulnerable music in American history spent his life reaching for the approval of a father who ultimately took that life with a gun his own son had given him and walked free for it. 10 voices, 10 endings, none of them chose, almost none of them answered for. Every record on this list is a letter mailed to a future its writer never got to read. And somehow, we're the ones still opening it, dancing to songs we never knew carried this much weight. If one of these names hit you harder than the rest, tell us which one below. Subscribe. Because we are not done uncovering the voices the industry left behind. The music never lies, even when the industry does.